What up, every person? I'm Dave McGuire, and you're watching Dave McGuire Reads. Thanks you for stopping by my channel. Friends, language is important. If language is harnessed appropriately, it can create eloquent sentence structures that, if put in the right sequence, can create vivid images inside the reader's mind. In literature, the use of extensive prose is necessary. The writer has to be able to convey the emotion of a character both internally and externally, while also being able to create vivid, crisp images of the setting that the character finds him or herself in. It would be like if in The Shining, Stephen King was just like,
so some bushes come to life that look like animals. I think they're called topiaries, and, they edge towards Danny, and it's, like, super scary, and, Cool. Next chapter.
You would be like,
okay, cool, thanks. Weird chapter and structure. But cool, man, thank you.
But in order to make it one of the scariest sequences in the entire book, he had to elicit fear and create suspense and tension. Look, we're going to get to suspense and tension in a later video. Today's video is actually going to focus on the language used in your action block. You know what I'm talking about? It's that little bit in between your dialogue. Because, look, in a lot of scripts that I'm reading, and frankly, I think it's coming from a lot of writers who are just starting off because, hey, hand up, I know I did it. You're feeling the need that you have to put in this colorful language because you want to try to prove to everybody who reads it that you are, in fact, a good writer. But unfortunately, it's coming off like you're overcompensating. Like, take for instance, you might take the morning rising sun and you might describe it as, the bright orange ball crests over the mountain ridge. The mist of the mountain blankets the heavenly mounds of rock like a parent tucking their child in. The sun's early morning rays touch the valley beneath it as it casts a majestic orange hue on the sleepy town of Ennisville. The light blankets the town, looking to wake each and every one of the inhabitants with a soft, gentle nudge. It's beautiful, comforting, and despite normal inclinations, also dangerous. There's some good description in there, but overall it's fluff, superfluous, and it's really doing your script no favors. So let's break down the action blocks into two sections. Now, if you're starting out, you've probably heard the rule that you shouldn't exceed more than 3 lines on your action text, because otherwise it becomes blocky, the producer reads it and their eyes glaze over, and then you discounted your script entirely. And while part of that is true, you don't want to make your producer fall asleep, you also shouldn't kill yourself to try to reach an arbitrary number. So, what should my action block text look like?
Before we continue, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to stay up to date on all my content. And now, back to the video.
If we look back at my example, we can see that I'm describing a morning sunrise and a small sleepy town. Now, obviously, I'm conveying it's morning, so I could have easily just written, it's morning. The sun rises above a mountain range. Its light covers the small town below. It's direct, and it frees up some space on the page, and a lot of producers are going to be very happy because of the brevity. And while a lot of this is being taught into film schools and a lot of your writers' groups, you also have to take into account that some of the movies that you love don't necessarily follow these rules. Let's take, for example, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark by Lawrence Kasdan. If we take a look at page 1, there is just nothing but a block of text, but it's the richness of those words that draws the reader in.
The dense, lush rainforest of the eastern slopes of the Andes, the place known as the eyebrow of the jungle. Ragged, jutting canyon walls are half hidden by the thick mists. The main title is followed by this, Peru, 1936. A narrow trail across the green face of the canyon. A group of men make their way along it, and at the head of the party is an American, Indiana Jones. He wears a short leather jacket, a flapped holster, and a brimmed felt hat with a weird feather stuck in the band.
Or take Damien Chazelle's script for Whiplash, which goes in the opposite direction. It provides you a short block of text, but packs it full with tremendous amounts of information. A cavernous space, soundproofed walls, and in the center, a drum set. Seated at it, in a sweat-marked white tee, eyes zeroed on his single-stroke roll, is Andrew Neiman. He's 19, slight, honor student skinny, except for his arms, which have been built from years and years of drumming. Suddenly, a man enters the practice room, stopping, rising. Both examples give the reader an impression about what's happening on the screen. They've made it part of the story, which takes us to point number 2. When I first started writing, and I think this is true for a lot of first-time writers, is that we want to be able to show the entire life of a character. From the moment they get up to the moment that the action of the story starts to take place, we want to fill in those gaps. And while at times that can be a very alluring process, more often than not, it comes out to being boring and uneventful. Take, for example, the first script I ever wrote. I open up with what I thought was a fairly decent opening hook, and then it goes from being decent to being painfully bad as we watch the main character get up, take a shower, brush his teeth, have some breakfast. And then I decided to double down on that by showing 2 other main characters doing the exact same thing, except they're going to replace brushing their teeth with smoking a bong.
Wow. If we didn't think it was morning time the first time you showed it to us, we're super glad you gave it to us a second time with 2 different characters. So creative.
At the time, I didn't realize, and I think a lot of first-time writers tend to overlook this part, but that like your characters and your descriptions and the dialogue, that's all making up a blueprint, and that blueprint will eventually translate into a film. But we have to also remember that somebody has to read this blueprint at some point. If you give too little, you might confuse the reader, but if you give too much, you might scare them away. So how do we combat this? Read as many scripts as you can. Okay, I'm going to put a link down in the description below because I want you to go to that script database, find your favorite movie, find your favorite writer, and I want you to look and read their work. See what they're doing different than what you're doing, and start asking the question to yourself, what is so effective about their works? And then you can take that and you can apply it to your own works in progress. All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Be sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button, and make sure to hit that notification bell so that way you stay up to date on all of my content. We're going to do this again next week, and I will see you guys then. But until then, bye guys.